Do you truly feel free? Pause and think carefully before you answer. You wake up and the very first thing you do is reach for your phone, scrolling through the screen, searching for something new, something to take your mind off things. Then maybe you have some coffee, a shot of dopamine from watching a short video, a song to shake off the boredom. On your way to work or college, you soak in even more stimulation. Podcasts, social media, endless notifications. And when you finally get a moment of quiet, what happens? An uncomfortable feeling shows up, an emptiness, something that pushes you to find yet another distraction, another quick pleasure. The problem isn't pleasure itself. Pleasure is a natural tool our minds use, an old way of being that makes us look for what helps us survive. But what happens when pleasure becomes the very thing trapping you? When the constant need to feel good makes us stuck in an endless loop of getting what we want right away. Aldous Huxley saw this coming almost 100 years ago. While George Orwell warned us about a future of harsh control in his book 1984, Huxley had an even more frightening idea. He imagined a world where people wouldn't need to be forced to obey. Instead, they would be so entertained, so buried in pleasant things, that they would never even think about fighting back. A world where slavery wouldn't need chains, where people would actually love being controlled. Now, look around you. What do you see? A world obsessed with fun, taking in pleasure without limits, seeking immediate relief for any unease. But what is the price of this? Is this never-ending hunt for quick happiness truly setting you free? Or is it keeping you trapped? In this video, we'll look at how today's world trains us to seek pleasure as a way of being controlled, and why this dependence might be turning you into something you never thought possible, someone who chooses to be a slave. If you believe you are truly in charge of your own mind, you should keep watching, because maybe, just maybe, you'll find out you never were. The perfect kind of slavery doesn't need chains. It doesn't need torture, threats, or constant watching. It just needs something simple, but terribly strong: pleasure. When pleasure becomes the most important thing in life, being controlled looks like freedom. And this is exactly what Huxley predicted in Brave New World. Imagine a world where people don't question anything because they are always being entertained, where looking for real meaning is replaced by taking in cheap distractions, where pleasure isn't something you choose, but something that is forced on you. In his made-up world, Huxley created a society where people are taught from birth to avoid anything that makes them uncomfortable. Whenever a bad feeling comes up, a worry, or a deep question about life, the answer is right there. A dose of soma, the perfect drug that keeps everyone calm and easy to control. But is this world truly fiction? Think about your own daily life. Whenever you feel bored, sad, or upset, what's the first thing you do? Do you stop to understand that feeling? Or do you immediately look for a distraction? Social media, TV shows, food, alcohol, shopping, intimacy, adult content, games. The list goes on and on. We live in a time of getting what we want right away, where any discomfort can be wiped out in seconds with a tap on a screen. You never have to face the empty feeling. You just fill it with another dose of pleasure. And the most dangerous part is that it all seems like a choice. No one is forcing you to consume entertainment 24 hours a day. No one is making you waste hours on Instagram or TikTok. No one is pointing a gun at your head saying, buy this, eat that, keep scrolling. But if this is a choice, why is it so hard to stop? The answer is in how we are conditioned. When you get used to seeking quick pleasure to get rid of any discomfort, your brain learns that this is the normal way to solve things. Over time, you lose the ability to deal with boredom, with quiet, with thinking deeply about yourself. Your mind becomes unable to be alone with its own thoughts, and without even realizing it, you become exactly what Huxley predicted: a happy servant, trapped not by force, but by pleasure. But why does this happen? How does this conditioning teach us to avoid any real thinking and keep us stuck in this addictive cycle? That's what we will explore next. If this message makes sense to you, please click the subscribe button and join the channel. Thank you for your support. Have you ever wondered why it's so hard to stop? Why, even when you know you should be doing something productive, your hand automatically goes to your phone, your brain begging for a new notification, a new video, a new stimulus? This doesn't happen by chance. You've been trained for it. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. The education system doesn't teach us to think for ourselves, but to repeat information. The job market trains us to produce things, not to reflect. And the entertainment culture gives us constant distractions, so we never stop to question the world around us. All of this together creates a society where the real danger isn't a strict government stopping free speech, but a system that makes us completely lose interest in looking for freedom. Huxley understood this better than anyone. In Brave New World, citizens didn't need to be harshly controlled. They were taught to love their own slavery. From childhood, they were exposed to hypnopedia, messages played repeatedly while they slept, shaping their beliefs without them even knowing. Phrases like, "everyone belongs to everyone," and "a gram of soma solves everything," were carved into their minds to make sure they never questioned anything. They grew up believing that happiness was found in fitting in avoiding any deep thought, in running away from any hint of suffering. Now think about how this shows up in our reality. Today's conditioning isn't through sleep learning, but through social media algorithms, company advertising, and the flood of stimuli that shape your behavior without you noticing. Every time you get a notification, your brain releases dopamine. Every time a short video gives you new information effortlessly, you get used to not having to think for yourself. And every time you are rewarded for going along with things, whether through likes, social approval, or quick pleasures, you strengthen the idea that this is the right way. The result of this is an entire generation of people unable to be alone with their own thoughts, unable to handle discomfort, unable to question the system, because they have simply lost the habit of thinking critically. In the end, a dictatorship isn't needed to control large groups of people when they themselves reject any idea that takes mental effort. But this rejection of critical thinking comes at a cost. When we avoid discomfort at all costs, we end up becoming weaker, easier to manipulate, more vulnerable. Constant pleasure makes us fragile, and manufactured happiness can turn us into increasingly passive beings. But how does this happen? How can the promise of a world without pain lead us to total submission? This is what we will look at next. Imagine a world where no one suffers, where all pains are quickly erased, where there is no sadness, frustration, or worry. It sounds like paradise, right? But now look closer. What happens to someone who never faces difficulties? What happens to an entire society programmed to avoid any discomfort? The answer is simple. It becomes weak. Huxley understood this trap with chilling clarity. In Brave New World, happiness was guaranteed by constantly taking soma, the perfect drug. No bad side effects, no risks, just instant pleasure. But what did this happiness truly mean? It meant that no one knew how to deal with pain, frustration, or even their own awareness. Any uncomfortable thought was dissolved with a chemical dose of comfort. Life was a never-ending series of surface-level pleasures, intimacy, entertainment, buying things, and anything that strayed from this pattern was seen as a threat. Now look around you. The modern world may not have soma, but it has its own versions. Social media offers instant hits of validation. Dating apps remove the fear of rejection. Algorithms give us exactly what we want before we even know we want it. Everything is designed to remove any discomfort, any gap, any need for effort. But this constant escape from pain comes at a cost, and that cost is our own mental strength. The harsh truth is that pain has a purpose. Suffering builds toughness. Frustration teaches us to grow. Difficulty forces us to get better. But when everything is made easy, when all challenges are avoided, we become increasingly fragile. Today, any discomfort feels impossible to bear. Small failures become huge life crises. Minor arguments seem like disasters. Anything that requires patience or effort is thrown away because we have been trained to look for the easiest path, instant pleasure, quick fixes. And this makes us easier to control. A society of strong, resilient individuals who accept discomfort and learn from it will never be obedient. It will never accept living under a system that limits its freedom. But a society of emotionally dependent individuals who need constant stimulation to avoid emptiness, who run from any form of suffering, that society will be obedient. It will be easy to manipulate. It will be the perfect society for those who want power without having to use force. And this is how the trap closes. What seems to be freedom, the ability to avoid all suffering, actually turns into our prison. But there is a way out. To escape this cycle, we need to understand the difference between pleasure and purpose. Because while pleasure can enslave us, purpose can set us free. And that is exactly what we will explore next. What are you truly looking for in life? Happiness or meaning? Pleasure or purpose? The answer might seem obvious, but have you really stopped to think about it? Modern society has taught us to believe that happiness is the ultimate goal. But what does it offer us as happiness? An endless series of fleeting pleasures. Likes on social media, impulsive shopping, casual intimacy, binge-watching shows, ultra-processed food that gives us a quick rush of pleasure and then leaves us empty. All of this keeps us satisfied for a moment, but never for long. And that is the core of the problem. Pleasure is always temporary. It needs to be constantly refreshed, or the feeling of emptiness comes back. Now, think about the most important moments of your life. Those that truly shaped who you are. Were they moments of instant pleasure, or moments of challenge, effort, and overcoming difficulties? Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that human beings cannot live without purpose. He observed that even in the worst possible situations, those who found a bigger meaning in their lives were the ones who managed to survive and stay sane. And here lies the contradiction. The pursuit of constant pleasure weakens us, while the pursuit of purpose strengthens us. Pleasure is easy, immediate, and addictive. Purpose, on the other hand, requires effort, discipline, and resilience. But unlike pleasure, purpose doesn't disappear once the effect wears off. It builds something inside us. It gives us a reason to keep going. But modern society doesn't want you to seek purpose. Purposes take time to build. They require deep thought, effort, and most of all, the ability to tolerate suffering. And all of this goes against the idea of instant consumption. An individual who finds purpose in life doesn't need constant distractions. They don't feel the need to fill every second of their day with superficial entertainment. They are not easily manipulated by false promises of instant happiness. And that is exactly why we are constantly bombarded with stimuli that pull us away from this search. Because a person with purpose is a dangerous person for a system that thrives on our emotional dependence. So if you feel that something is missing in your life, maybe the answer isn't more pleasure, but less. Perhaps the path is not to seek more distractions, but to get rid of the excessive ones. And the question you need to ask yourself is, what truly moves you? What makes you get out of bed in the morning? Are you living off temporary pleasures? Or are you building something that truly matters? But how do you escape this trap? How do you break the cycle and get back control over your own mind? That's what we will reveal next. Now that you understand how chasing pleasure relentlessly can keep you stuck, the most important question comes up. How do you escape this trap? How do you regain control of your own mind in a world that does everything to keep you distracted, numb, and emotionally dependent? The first thing you need to understand is that this isn't an easy fight. The system is designed for you to fail. It wants you to keep looking for quick pleasures, to keep feeding the algorithms with your attention, to keep consuming endlessly. But there is a way out, and it starts with your decision to become aware of the game being played against you. The first strategy to break this cycle is the intentional cutting back on pleasure. This doesn't mean you have to become extremely strict and reject all forms of fun. Instead, you should learn to consciously manage how much you expose yourself to things that are addictive. The problem isn't pleasure itself, but the fact that it's being used against you as a way to control. When you hold back from certain pleasures for a period of time, like social media, highly processed food, or endlessly watching entertainment, something interesting happens. Your brain adjusts. It starts to find satisfaction in small things again, and the uncontrolled desire for artificial stimulation begins to lose its power. The second step is to build back your tolerance for discomfort. If you want to get your independence back, you need to relearn how to deal with boredom, frustration, and the lack of constant stimulation. This means allowing yourself to be quiet, disconnecting from the flood of information, and simply existing without needing to fill every moment with some distraction. At first, this will be hard. Your brain, used to constant bursts of dopamine, will demand more. But if you resist, you will start to notice something powerful. Discomfort doesn't kill you. In fact, it makes you stronger. The third step is to develop critical thinking. Ask yourself, why do I feel this need to distract myself all the time? Who gains from my addiction to pleasure? What could I be doing if I weren't trapped in this cycle of instant gratification? The more you question, the more you will realize that a large part of your habits and desires were not truly chosen by you. They were programmed by the system. But only those who ask themselves these questions can begin to write their own future. The fourth step, and perhaps the most important, is to replace pleasure with purpose. As we talked about earlier, looking for meaning is the real cure for being enslaved by quick pleasure. So ask yourself, what truly matters to me? What do I want to build? How can I make my life more meaningful? These are difficult questions, but they are the only ones that truly count. But there's a problem. Even if you start to break free from this cycle, the society around you will still be deeply involved in it. And when you decide to change, something unavoidable happens. People start to see you differently. Some will admire you, others will reject you. Because when you free yourself, you also become a mirror showing what others don't want to see in themselves. And that is exactly what we will explore in the final part. If you've made it this far, something inside you has already started to wake up. You've realized that the endless chase for pleasure isn't freedom, but rather a cycle of conditioning that keeps you trapped. You understand that modern society doesn't need to physically chain you to control you. It just needs to convince you to run from any kind of discomfort. But now that you see the trap, the most important question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The truth is, escaping this system requires more than just strong will. It means going against the flow, rejecting the easiest path, and accepting that real freedom often comes with feeling alone and facing resistance. Because when you stop distracting yourself, you start to see. And when you see, you realize that many people around you are still blind. Some people will admire you for this. Others will reject you. Some will feel uncomfortable with your change. Because when you free yourself, you become a threat to their illusion. They will try to pull you back, convincing you that there's nothing wrong with this system, that life is meant to be enjoyed without much thought. But now you know the truth. Pleasure without purpose is just another form of slavery. So the choice is yours. You can keep living as before, distracting yourself, looking for the next hit of dopamine, ignoring the growing emptiness inside you. Or you can decide to take back control of your mind, build a purpose, and become someone who isn't easily manipulated. But I want to know, what will you choose? Have you ever felt caught in this cycle? Have you noticed how society uses pleasure to control? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts, because questioning is the first step to freedom. And if this video has made you see the world differently, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't just go with the flow. We question, we think deeply, and we try to understand the truths that no one wants you to see. If you want to continue this journey of self-discovery and liberation, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning. See you in the next video.